Hello, this is Erica Norton, and I'm the founder of Perfect Legal Video. And today I am talking with Attorney Nicole Reeves Lavallee. She owns a law firm out in the Worcester area, and they handle family law, and they handle real estate law. She just helped me close on selling my house this week, so I'm super happy with how professional they are and how they get things done, even though there's so many things that come up. And so I'm just going to start off the interview with thanking you so much, Nicole. You and your team were fantastic.
Thank you. I'm glad everything worked out really well.
Yep, that's one big headache that is off of my shoulders. I wanted to talk to you today about quadros, and I'm going to let you explain how that is spelled and what it is.
A quadro, known as QDRO or sometimes DROs, are qualified domestic relations orders. What they are is simply dividing retirement accounts from a spousal situation with people that are going through divorce. So, husband and wife, husband owns a retirement account, and wife is entitled to a portion of it. So, we're going to allocate that money to the wife, and that's called a quadro.
Well, that's very interesting. And it seems like something that would be hotly contested in court.
Not necessarily hotly contested. It's, well, you need to give me this and I'm going to give you that, or you're not going to touch that. But there's vested and not vested stock, and there's loans and not loans. And so there's all those other little things that really people want to focus on. Well, you have a retirement account. Why aren't we doing yours? That's the type of stuff that really kind of gets muddy. So we have to figure out, one, how much are the total assets in these funds? If husband has 100,000 and wife has 50,000 and it's all during the marriage, well then how are we going to get each person to have 75,000? And that's basic numbers. And then we get into all the other stuff.
Now, I know that when I got divorced, one person got the house and one person got the retirement accounts. And is that because they ended up being about even?
That is because the parties agreed to that. A lot of times what will happen is it's apples to oranges. Sometimes one person wants the house and the house is really liquid, right? Yes, I get it. It's a house. It's not really liquid. But I can sell the house tomorrow if I wanted to, which makes it a liquid asset versus a retirement account that is not liquid because one, you can't take it out, and two, if you can take it out, you're going to be paying severe penalties. So it's apples to oranges. A lot of people don't like to do it. It's something that can be negotiated. It's ultimately, if the court has to decide, they're going to sell the house and they're going to divide the pension or the retirement account because they are two different things. So it can be a negotiated thing.
Well, it sounds like it was easy the way we did it, but it sounds like things could be a lot muddier, as you said before, when it comes to a quadro. And I guess what are some of the ways that they would consider splitting that up if there are so many facets? I mean, like you said, not everything in a retirement account is liquid, and a lot of them are already in stocks, and if you take them out early, you're really going to get pay a lot of penalties. You might lose a lot of money because you took it out early and the stock isn't where you were waiting for it to get to. And it's just I'm not a financial advisor, so I'll let you speak to it.
I'm also not a financial advisor, but the reality is it's always going to be dependent on the person that is the participant. So if it's your husband's account, we have to follow the rules that your husband's employer set up. So if it says they're not vested for a certain period of time, then that means when you get it, that's still not vested. If it says you can't take it out until he reaches the age of 65, then you have to wait until he reaches the age of 65. It's not your retirement age, it's his retirement age. So you're definitely going to have different things that you need to work on and figure out what does that look like. The good thing is it's an account that's going to be severed without any tax ramifications. So it literally goes from one spouse to another, no tax ramifications. However, when you liquidate it or withdraw that money, that's when it's going to be taxed. So you're only going to be taxed on the portion that you're actually receiving.
Well, I mean, that still sounds a bit complicated, but that's why you have to have an attorney. So, I mean, you go into these things on your own and you're just going to be out in the weeds. So, definitely if you're in the Worcester area, give Nicole and her team a call and they can help explain it, help let you know what the possibilities are, what if you're even qualified to get the quadro in the court's eyes, they think it's likely, or if there are some other assets that might be a little easier to take. And like you said, the house, you can sell it tomorrow, and that's really that's easy. I mean, it's not easy, but it's not like you have to wait till your spouse is of retirement age either. So you can get those funds whenever you decide to go through that sales process.
Absolutely. And you're better off, sometimes again, we have other things like stocks or bonds. Um, Obviously, more fluid. Again, talking about is it liquid or not. So we really got to look at what are those options. And that's what I'm going to do is do an analysis because at the end of the day, the court looks at what's the total number? Okay, how do we divide it? Why isn't it 50-50? And that's what the court's going to look at. Again, you guys can always decide to something different, but the reality is, one person's going, yeah, but I know I'm going to be able to buy a house tomorrow. I know that my credit's good. I know that I don't have a lot to debt to income ratio. Where another person's going, I'm struggling and this is the home where the kids are. So again, we're going to look at all those factors and make the determination as to what's best for your particular case. And more importantly, maybe you've been a stay-at-home mom and the chance of you getting a retirement account is slim to none. Well, now guess what? You have a retirement account. If you're the recipient of that, you now have a retirement account and you now have the ability to contribute to that account on a regular basis. You can put money into it for something that you never thought you were going to have because I'm a stay-at-home mom. So there's definitely benefits. And again, we have to look at the age of the parties. Where are they at? What are they going to be doing in the future? All of these factors are going to come into play as to what's best for you in your particular circumstances.
And that's really good to know. So what would some of the steps be really in considering this? I mean, you're looking at all the assets. Is there an order of operations here?
Well, the first order is going to be coming up with the agreement and the numbers. Once we do that, then we're going to either set a percentage. We're going to usually say it's, 50% from date of marriage to date of divorce. That's the general terms. Then we're going to factor in, well, is there loans? What if that person takes out loans between now and the time that I actually get the money? How is that going to be handled? How are gains and losses going to be handled? Because the market is constantly fluctuating. So what's going to happen? So those are the factors that we as the attorneys are going to negotiate and going to write into the agreement. Then once we get that agreement approved by the court, we then have to hire usually a third party to actually draft the quadro. And there are certain terms, and each company is going to have their own format. So if there's not one universal document that I can just go, oh, plug and play. Nope. We have to go back to that employer or that provider and say, I would like to divide this account by way of a quadro. They give us a sample, and then we have to create a template and a document based off of that particular asset. And then we have to get approval from the company. So all of these things are taking time. Once we get the approval, which could take 2 or 3 revisions and waiting for their department to look at it, then we get it back, we get it approved. The attorneys that were hired that are representing you are also going to look at it. They're going to prove it. The clients most likely are going to have to sign the document. And then we have to file a motion to approve the quadro in the court and get the court's blessing. The good thing with that is it's usually done administratively, which means the court will sign off on it and will eventually sign it. This entire process depends. Sometimes it can be as smooth as 2 weeks. A lot of times you're looking at probably 6 to 9 months on the high end.
And this is why divorces take so long. Right? I mean, this is just one of the pieces that you handle when you are helping somebody go through a divorce. And, it's one of the things that, you have to decide what, if it's going to get split or not, or if something else is going to make things equal. And then, if there's children, there's a few other things that you have to work out there with, compensating the parents and coming up with parenting time and all that. But people wonder why divorces take so long. And I mean, just the negotiations take a long time, but this kind of thing, there's a process and you can't rush it.
Absolutely. And I think, the other part of that is there's attorneys out there that frustrate me because the moment you get divorced, they disappear and they go, we're not dealing with any post divorce issues. So now you're going, well, okay, how do I get my money from this QDRO? I don't care. It's not my job. My job ended when I got you divorced. And so I'll have clients that come to me that were had another attorney, and I go, well, why isn't that attorney doing it? Well, they said they wouldn't do it. To me, that's really leaving your client in a lurch. They don't know what to do. They don't understand all of this process. I explained it to you, and you're going, oh my God. And that's only half of it, because then after we get the QDRO back from the court, we then have to send it to the plan administrator, and then we have to wait for them to do their job. So it's just a never ending process. To leave your client kind of high and dry, to me, is a complete disservice. So, that's one of the things that when you're interviewing attorneys, I would bring that up and I would ask them, do you handle the post divorce issues? What don't you handle in my case? Because great, I'm getting clients and they're literally just hiring me to help them facilitate the QDRO and the transfer of those funds.
That's amazing to me because, gosh, how long ago did I get divorced? Like 5 years. And I feel like maybe six. And I feel like you have, like, I feel like once the divorce finally was over, like, I don't know, a year and a half later or whatever, uh, I feel like that's where it just began. Because there was a lot more to go. There was more court for 2 more years. And, we've had some time without it now, but, I have no doubt that at some point, I might need you again. And, um, that was like the most surprising thing to me. And I'm sure it's sad to hear that there are attorneys that leave their clients high and dry after the divorce is over because if you have children, there's always something to work out, and it can't always be worked out by just talking to your ex, unfortunately. So it's really nice that you support people after because there are so many more issues after the divorce.
There really are. And it's one of those things that, it, from my perspective, I would love for all of my clients to get divorced and never have to go back to court. Absolutely, I'd love that. But that's not the reality we live in. Unfortunately, people lose their jobs. That's never going to change. People get sick. People die. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And so, from my perspective, so long as your children are unemancipated, I should be along your side, helping you out as needed. Again, in a perfect world, we're just being friends. But the reality is, I'm there, or I should be there, to help you out in the next step. When something does go awry, when something is traumatic and you have to fix it. Because unfortunately, cases do go back to court.
Well, and it is sad because it's so stressful for most people. Not for you. You handle it really well. It's not your case, about your personal case. But so this was it's an interesting piece to talk about because I feel like not a lot of people do talk about this information. And it's something that people don't think about till, later on, and then, they need a class in it because it's a lot to take in. Um, is there any I guess, parting advice that you have that has to do with the QDRO when you're going through the divorce? I mean, this only happens with divorces, not with like separating couples, right? It's
Correct. You could only do this and without penalties by way of a divorce. That's it. That's a federal law. That's what we have to file under, and that's what allows it to be done tax free. Obviously, we can negotiate it to the cows come home in a paternity case, but it's not going to be tax free. And I think the big thing, from my perspective, is you have clients that, again, they dropped the ball, or yeah, things were done, but I got divorced 10 years ago. Can you check on that and see if that was ever done? And sometimes it's no, your attorney never did that. Um, or yeah, it was done, but I've never received a document. And so now, decades later, I'm either drafting quadros for these accounts, and unfortunately, sometimes that's harder than it looks because companies merge, they sever their ties, they hopefully don't, go under because then you may never get the money. But, you have these issues that come up and you really need to focus on, okay, who's the provider today and how can I get a quadro done? And then the other part of that is I just had somebody the other day that had the quadro legally done a decade ago, but the company says, I don't know what you're talking about. We have no records of it. And so I'm going back to the court, sending it back a certified copy to the court, to the provider, and saying, sever this account. You should have done this 10 years ago. And so now my client's of retirement age, and she's like, I just want the money. And so, you do have to kind of be on top of it, and you do have to keep those records because once we do have that quadro, again, things may change and the provider may change. And so, again, if you're not getting the money for 10 to 15 years, you want to make sure that you're up to date and you're not waiting to the 11th hour to collect that money.
oof, you got to track it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, this has been very interesting. I'm so glad that you've been able to shed some light on a difficult topic. Uh, Not difficult emotionally for once, um, but brain power trying to figure this stuff out. So we do appreciate you, Nicole. Again, and encourage anyone to call Nicole's office if you have any questions on a family law or real estate law matter. And thank you so much for coming on today, Nicole.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, and we'll see you all next week.